Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that constantly tries to pull us in 1,000 different directions. We are told to look outside ourselves, to seek approval, to chase after things and to please others. But let me tell you this, the greatest strength you can ever possess is the power of focusing on yourself. It's not selfishness, it's self-awareness, it's self-love, and it's the foundation of a life well lived. Now I understand there are people in your life who will say, focus on me, help me, be with me. And that's fine, but the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. You need to take time to listen to your heart, your mind, and your soul. You need to find your own path. For too long, the world has told us to be everything for everyone. But you can't give what you don't have. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you begin to focus on your own growth, your own peace, your own fulfillment, you'll see that the world begins to shift. You become the strongest version of yourself, and that strength will radiate and inspire those around you. But understand this, not everyone will like it. Some will resist your growth, some will push back. Why? Because when you begin to focus on your own well-being, it challenges their expectations, their comfort zones, and their idea of how you should be. But remember, focusing on yourself is not a rejection of others. It's an embrace of your own destiny. So I urge you today, take a step back and ask yourself, am I living for myself or am I living for everyone else? Focusing on yourself is often misunderstood in today's society. Many people view it as selfishness, a desire to place your own needs above others, or refusal to care for those around you. But nothing could be further from the truth. True self-focus is not about neglecting others or becoming self-absorbed. It is about nurturing your inner self, recognizing your needs, and taking the time to build the strength and clarity needed to be the best version of yourself. It's about giving yourself permission to grow, heal, and thrive so that you can ultimately give your best to those you care about in the world around you. In our fast-paced, constantly connected world, we are pressured to look outward for validation and approval. Social media amplifies this tendency, showing us curated versions of other people's lives and making us feel like we're not doing enough or aren't enough in some way. This constant comparison can cause us to forget that the most important relationship we will ever have is the one we have with ourselves. We are conditioned to believe that if we focus on ourselves too much, we become self-centered, or worse, selfish. But in reality, self-focus is the opposite of selfishness. It is the path to self-fulfillment. When we focus on ourselves, we begin by taking the time to listen to our thoughts, our emotions, and our physical needs. We recognize that it's okay to say need to others when we're feeling overwhelmed, tired, or simply not aligned with the situation. We honor our needs, and in doing so, we gain clarity and strength. The act of self-reflection allows us to understand who we truly are beneath the surface, the person we are without the expectations or pressures imposed by others. It's easy to forget who we are when we are constantly chasing external validation or fulfilling other people's needs. But self-focus helps us reconnect with our own truth to live authentically. As we focus on ourselves, we also become aware of the areas in which we need to grow. Self-focus doesn't mean remaining stagnant or complacent. It means being honest with ourselves about our weaknesses and our potential for improvement. It allows us to develop habits that serve our greater purpose and values. We begin to set goals that are meaningful to us, not ones dictated by others. We take the time to reflect on what truly matters, what brings us joy, and what aligns with our deepest desires. We become intentional about how we use our time, energy, and resources, choosing to invest in what nurtures our growth and well-being. Another crucial aspect of focusing on yourself is that it enables you to take responsibility for your own happiness and emotional health. Too often people look outside themselves for happiness, thinking that the right relationship, job, or material possession will bring them fulfillment. While external factors can enhance our lives, They cannot provide lasting fulfillment if we haven't first cultivated happiness within. When we focus on ourselves, we shift from a mindset of seeking happiness from others to one of creating happiness within ourselves. We understand that our peace and joy are not dependent on anyone else's actions or circumstances. They are an inside job. When we begin to care for ourselves in this way, we also learn to set healthy boundaries. Boundaries are a crucial component of self-focus. They are not barriers to keep others out, but rather markers that protect our energy, time, and well-being. By defining our boundaries, we give ourselves the freedom to say yes to what aligns with our values and no to what doesn't. This clarity creates space for us to prioritize our needs without guilt or shame, allowing us to give our best to others without sacrificing our own peace. Another powerful aspect of focusing on yourself is that it allows you to build resilience. Life will inevitably bring challenges, setbacks, and hardships. But when you've spent time nurturing yourself, developing your inner strength, and understanding your worth, you are better equipped to handle life's difficulties. You don't crumble when adversity strikes. Instead, you rise stronger, knowing that you have the power within to face whatever comes your way. As you continue to focus on yourself, you begin to notice subtle changes in how you interact with the world. You approach relationships from a place of abundance rather than neediness or desperation. When you are secure in who you are, you no longer feel the urge to please others for the sake of validation. You understand that you are enough as you are, and that the love and respect you give and receive in relationships are built on mutual understanding, not codependency. In focusing on yourself, you learn how to give to others in a way that is genuine, sustainable, and fulfilling because you are already whole within yourself. True self-focus, then, is not about isolating oneself or abandoning others. It is about finding balance, taking the time to nurture your own growth, healing, and fulfillment so that you can be the best version of yourself for those you love and for the world around you. It is not a rejection of others, but rather a commitment to living authentically, intentionally, and with purpose. When you focus on yourself, you become the strongest version of yourself, and in doing so, you inspire others to do the same. Self-awareness is a powerful tool in understanding who you are, what you need, and what truly makes you happy. In a world filled with noise, distractions, and constant demands from others, it's easy to lose sight of your own needs and desires. The pressure to live up to the expectations of society, family, and friends can drown out your inner voice, leading you to follow paths that aren't necessarily your own. Self-awareness, however, helps you break free from this cycle by offering clarity and insight into your true self. When we talk about self-awareness, we're not merely referring to knowing your likes or dislikes, or understanding what makes you happy in a superficial sense. True self-awareness goes much deeper. It's about understanding the core of who you are, your values, your fears, your passions, and the things that truly matter to you. It's about recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, your emotional triggers, and the patterns of behavior that you have developed over time. It's a process of looking inward, of taking the time to reflect on your experiences, and of gaining clarity on what drives you. This deep level of self-understanding allows you to make more informed choices in life, ones that align with your authentic self rather than external pressures. The journey to self-awareness often begins with quiet reflection. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the rush of everyday life, constantly moving from one task to the next without taking the time to pause and check in with ourselves. But self-awareness requires slowing down and giving yourself space to breathe, think, and feel. It involves sitting with your thoughts and emotions, allowing yourself to experience them without judgment. This reflective practice can be done in many ways, whether through journaling, meditation, or simply taking quiet moments throughout the day to check in with yourself. The key is to create the mental space to truly listen to your inner voice. Self-awareness also involves a willingness to be honest with yourself, even when the truth is uncomfortable. It requires acknowledging your flaws and limitations, as well as the areas where you need growth. Sometimes we avoid facing these aspects of ourselves because it can be painful or difficult. However, only by acknowledging our weaknesses can we begin to heal and grow. Self-awareness is about seeing ourselves as we truly are, not as we wish to be or as others expect us to be. It's about accepting both our light and our shadows, our strengths and our weaknesses, and recognizing that these parts of us are integral to our whole being. When we are truly honest with ourselves, we can begin to take meaningful action to improve the areas of our lives that need attention. Another important aspect of self-awareness is understanding your values and how they influence your choices. Our values are the beliefs and principles that guide our behavior and decision-making. They form the foundation of who we are and serve as a compass in our lives. When we are clear about our values, we are better equipped to make decisions that align with our true selves. However, without self-awareness, we may make choices based on external influences, such as societal expectations or the desires of others, rather than on what truly matters to us. Self-awareness helps us reconnect with our core values and ensures that the decisions we make reflect the person we truly want to be. Part of self-awareness is also becoming attuned to our emotional responses. Often we go through life reacting to situations and people without fully understanding why we feel the way we do. But when we cultivate self-awareness, we can start to recognize the underlying emotions that drive our reactions. Whether it's anger, fear, joy, or sadness, each emotion carries valuable information about our inner state. By paying attention to our emotions, we can learn to respond to situations more thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. This emotional intelligence allows us to navigate relationships and life challenges with greater ease and understanding. As you deepen your self-awareness, you also begin to notice the patterns in your behavior. These patterns are often shaped by past experiences, fears, or conditioning. Some patterns may serve you well, while others may be limiting or self-sabotaging. By becoming aware of these patterns, you gain the power to change them. For example, if you notice that you consistently avoid difficult conversations or struggle to set boundaries, self-awareness allows you to identify these habits and work toward healthier alternatives. The more you recognize these patterns, the more you can consciously choose to act in ways that are aligned with your values and goals. Self-awareness is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. As you grow and change, so too does your understanding of yourself. This journey of self-discovery is lifelong, and the more you cultivate self-awareness, the more attuned you become to your true nature. It's important to remember that self-awareness is not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about becoming more connected to your inner self and taking responsibility for your own well-being. The more you understand yourself, the more empowered you become to live authentically, to make choices that reflect your true values, and to navigate life with a sense of clarity and purpose. Ultimately, self-awareness is the foundation for a life that is lived with intention and authenticity. When you know who you are and what truly matters to you, you can approach life with confidence and clarity. You make decisions that are true to yourself, and you cultivate relationships and environments that support your well-being. Self-awareness allows you to live with purpose, to understand your emotions, and to create a life that is aligned with your deepest desires. It is the key to living a fulfilling and meaningful life, one that reflects the truest version of who you are. One of the most important lessons in life is understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup. It's a concept that sounds simple, yet it holds profound truth. In order to give your best to others, you must first ensure that you are taking care of yourself. So many people struggle with this, often putting the needs of others before their own, believing that being selfless is a virtue. And while selflessness can be a beautiful thing, it becomes harmful when it leads to personal burnout, emotional exhaustion, and a diminished sense of self-worth. The idea of you can't pour from an empty cup serves as a reminder that your energy, time, and emotional resources are finite, and unless you replenish them regularly, you won't have anything left to give. In today's world, there is a pervasive culture of overwork and overcommit. Many people feel a constant pressure to do more, be more, often at the expense of their own well-being. Whether it's a demanding job, the expectations of family and friends, or societal pressures to succeed, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that you have limits. It can be easy to say yes to every request, to prioritize others' needs over your own, and to push yourself past your breaking point. But when you constantly give without replenishing yourself, you begin to drain your reserves, leaving you feeling depleted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from your own needs. Self-care isn't about being selfish or neglecting your responsibilities to others. It's about recognizing that in order to be there for the people you love and the work you do, you must first take care of your own physical, emotional, and mental health. Think of yourself as a well, and the water inside is your energy. When the well is full, you have plenty of water to share with others, but when the well is dry, there's nothing left to give. This concept applies not only to physical energy, but also to emotional and mental resources. If you constantly give without taking the time to recharge, you may begin to feel emotionally drained, mentally exhausted, and disconnected from your own sense of purpose. The act of refilling your cup takes many forms. It's different for everyone, but it's essential to find practices that allow you to restore your energy and emotional balance. For some, this may mean taking time each day for physical exercise, going for a walk, practicing yoga, or hitting the gym. For others, it might mean engaging in creative hobbies, spending time with close friends, or seeking moments of solitude to reflect and recharge. The key is to listen to your body and mind, paying attention to the signs that you need rest, relaxation, or emotional rejuvenation. At the same time, it's important to recognize the emotional and mental drains that can come from neglecting your own needs. Many people struggle with saying no, fearing they will disappoint others or feel guilty for setting boundaries. But saying yes to everything often means saying no to yourself. It's a fine balance, but setting healthy boundaries is a key part of taking care of yourself. Boundaries are not about shutting others out, but about protecting your energy and creating space for your own needs. When you allow yourself to set boundaries, you create a foundation for mutual respect, where you honor your needs and in turn respect the needs of others as well. Without boundaries, you risk losing yourself in the demands of others, eventually leading to burnout and resentment. It's also important to acknowledge that self-care isn't always about doing something fun or relaxing. Sometimes it's about making difficult decisions or taking the necessary steps to protect your well-being. This might mean cutting toxic people out of your life, changing a job that's draining you, or setting aside time to rest instead of constantly filling your schedule with obligations. Taking care of yourself requires making choices that prioritize your own health, even when those choices may feel uncomfortable or inconvenient. In the process of refilling your cup, you not only preserve your own well-being, but you also enhance your ability to be there for others. When you are emotionally and physically replenished, you are more present, more patient, and more compassionate with the people in your life. You're able to give more freely without feeling resentful or overwhelmed because you have taken the time to care for yourself first. It's like being on an airplane. The safety instructions always remind you to put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. Only when you are fully equipped to take care of yourself can you effectively care for those around you. Taking time to fill your own cup also allows you to gain a deeper sense of clarity and purpose. When you're constantly on the go, rushing from one thing to the next, it's easy to lose touch with your own goals, desires, and dreams. But when you intentionally take the time to slow down, reflect, and check in with yourself, you can reconnect with your passions, reevaluate your priorities, and regain the motivation you need to move forward. In this space of self-care, you allow yourself to grow, evolve, and become the best version of yourself. Learning to prioritize your own well-being can be a difficult shift, especially in a society that often encourages self-sacrifice. But the truth is that you cannot be truly present or effective in your relationships, work, or other obligations if you are not taking care of yourself first. When you make self-care a priority, You are not only ensuring your own health and happiness, but also enabling yourself to give more fully and joyfully to the people and causes you care about. Self-care is not an act of selfishness. It is an essential practice for sustaining your energy, preserving your mental and emotional health, and living a life that is balanced, fulfilling, and meaningful. As we go through life, we often encounter people who may resist or feel uncomfortable with the changes we make, especially when we start focusing on our personal growth. When you begin the journey of focusing on yourself, setting boundaries, and prioritizing your well-being, some individuals may push back. This is a natural response. People get used to the version of you they have known. And when that version starts to shift, when you become more assertive about your needs, when you start to change your habits, or when you take time for self-care, they might feel threatened, confused, or left behind. It's not that they don't care about you, but rather that your growth challenges the familiar dynamics of the relationship, and that can be unsettling for them. However, this resistance doesn't necessarily mean that you should stop focusing on your own development. In fact, it's often a sign that you're on the right path. One of the primary reasons people resist your growth is that it challenges their expectations of you. We all have a tendency to categorize others based on our past experiences with them. If someone has always been the caregiver, the listener, the helper, or the pleaser, any shift in these roles can feel like a disruption. People may start to feel like they are losing the version of you that they are most familiar with. They might not know how to interact with the new version of you, especially if it's more assertive, independent, or focused on personal boundaries. This discomfort can result in resistance, often disguised as criticism or guilt-tripping. For example, if you start saying no to invitations you previously would have accepted out of obligation, those around you may feel rejected or hurt, even though your decision is rooted in self-care. Another reason for resistance is that personal growth often forces others to confront their own shortcomings or the areas of their life where they are not growing. If someone has grown accustomed to you being available for them at all times, or playing a certain role in their life, your decision to focus on yourself may highlight their own lack of growth or change. It can make them feel inadequate or uncomfortable with the stagnation they may be experiencing in their own lives. Your personal growth might cause them to question their own behaviors, priorities, and choices. This can lead to feelings of jealousy, insecurity, or even resentment as they struggle to accept the changes in you while simultaneously avoiding change in themselves. Moreover, growth and change can trigger fear in others. People often fear the unknown or what the future might look like when dynamics shift. If you start prioritizing yourself and making changes in your life, those around you may fear that you will grow apart or that you will no longer be as accessible to them. This fear can manifest in different ways, such as manipulation, guilt-tripping, or passive-aggressive behavior. They may say things like, "You're changing," or "You're becoming someone else," when in reality you are simply becoming the person you are always meant to be. But for those who are not comfortable with change, the fear of losing the relationship or the familiar version of you can lead to resistance. Sometimes the resistance isn't overt. It may come in the form of subtle criticism or attempts to make you feel guilty for focusing on yourself. If you start saying no to certain obligations or social events in order to prioritize your health, work, or personal growth, others may try to make you feel guilty for not being there for them. They may try to invoke feelings of obligation, saying things like, "I thought we were friends," or "You've changed. You never have time for me anymore." These comments are often a reflection of their discomfort with your change, not an accurate reflection of your priorities or intentions. They may be using guilt as a way to maintain the status quo and keep you in a role that serves them, rather than allowing you to grow into your authentic self. It's important to recognize that while this resistance can feel difficult, it is often a reflection of the other person's need for control, their own fears, or their inability to accept change. These reactions are not about you, they are about them. Their discomfort with your growth is a sign that they have not yet accepted the natural ebb and flow of relationships and personal evolution. The people who truly care about you and want the best for you will eventually come to understand and accept your growth, even if it initially causes some tension. The most important thing you can do when faced with resistance is to stay true to yourself. You cannot control how others react to your growth, but you can control how you respond to their reactions. It's essential to set clear boundaries and communicate your needs with compassion and honesty. If someone is trying to pull you back into old patterns that no longer serve you, gently but firmly remind them of your right to prioritize your well-being. Let them know that your growth does not mean you are abandoning them or rejecting them. It simply means you are becoming the best version of yourself. Be patient with them as they adjust to this new version of you, but do not let their resistance derail your journey. In time, the people who truly respect and care about you will learn to embrace the changes in you. They will see that by focusing on yourself, you are not distancing yourself from them, but instead creating a more balanced and fulfilled life. You will become a source of inspiration, showing them that it is possible to grow and evolve while maintaining meaningful relationships. And if someone is unwilling or unable to accept your growth, it may be necessary to reevaluate that relationship and consider whether it aligns with the person you are becoming. Ultimately, personal growth is a journey that can be uncomfortable for both you and those around you. However, it is an essential part of living a fulfilled life. Embrace the discomfort, recognize the resistance for what it is, and stay committed to your path. Change is inevitable, and those who are meant to be in your life will grow alongside you while others will fall away. Either way, you will emerge stronger, more authentic, and more capable of living a life that is true to who you are. There's a powerful truth that many people struggle to accept. Not everyone is meant to be in your life forever. We often hold on to relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendships, because of emotional attachment, shared history, or the fear of loneliness. However, as we grow and evolve, it becomes evident that some relationships no longer serve us in the way they once did. People change, circumstances change, and what was once a nurturing connection can sometimes become toxic, draining, or stifling. The reality is that when someone truly wants to be in your life, they will not only respect your personal growth, but also support it. If they resist the changes you're making or refuse to meet you where you are, it may be a sign that the relationship has reached its natural end. Letting go of relationships that no longer serve you is one of the hardest and most necessary parts of personal growth. It's easy to feel guilty about moving on from people you once cared deeply for. But it's important to recognize that staying in a relationship that no longer fits is doing both you and the other person a disservice. Whether the relationship has become unhealthy, one-sided, or simply no longer aligns with your values and goals, it's essential to trust that walking away is sometimes the best thing for both of you. It doesn't mean you don't care about them. It just means that you are honoring your own needs and making room for new connections that are more aligned with who you are becoming. One of the most painful aspects of this process is the realization that some people might resist your growth because they fear losing you. Often this resistance is rooted in their own insecurities or inability to understand the changes you're going through. They may feel threatened by your independence, your newfound sense of self, or your willingness to step away from unhealthy patterns. They might try to keep you in the past, reminding you of the person you used to be, or attempting to guilt you into staying in the relationship as it was. This can be especially true in close relationships where there's a deep emotional attachment, such as family or romantic partnerships. The fear of change can be so overwhelming that they may even unknowingly try to sabotage your progress or hold you back from reaching your full potential. The truth is, you can't change for someone else, and you can't remain stagnant just to appease others. If someone truly wants to be in your life, they will support you as you evolve. They will respect the fact that your growth is a natural part of who you are, and they will either grow with you or give you the space to grow on your own. Unfortunately, some people will resist these changes, whether because of fear, jealousy, or simply because they are unwilling to grow themselves. In these situations, it's important to remember that their resistance is not a reflection of your worth or your value. It's a reflection of their own limitations. When someone truly wants to be in your life, they won't try to hold you back. They will encourage your growth, challenge you to be the best version of yourself, and celebrate your achievements. A healthy relationship is one in which both people feel supported in their individual journeys and are able to share their experiences without fear of judgment or resentment. It's a relationship built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding that both individuals are on their own unique paths. If someone's response to your growth is anything less than supportive, it's a clear signal that the relationship may no longer be serving its intended purpose. Another aspect to consider is that letting go of relationships that no longer serve you isn't just about removing toxic influences or negative energy. It's also about creating space for new relationships to enter your life. Relationships that align with your values, your goals, and your growth. When you release the people or situations that hold you back, you make room for new experiences, new friendships, and new opportunities that will help you continue to evolve. It's easy to hold on to relationships out of fear of being alone or the uncertainty of what might come next. However, by holding on to people who no longer support your growth, you are blocking the potential for new connections that are more fulfilling, inspiring, and aligned with your authentic self. Sometimes letting go of someone doesn't mean cutting them out entirely. It could simply mean redefining the relationship. For example, you might have a family member or a longtime friend who is not supportive of your growth, but instead of completely severing ties, you might choose to limit the amount of time you spend with them or adjust the dynamics of the relationship. This can be a healthy compromise when you want to maintain a connection, but need to protect your own mental and emotional well-being. In other cases, it might be necessary to fully detach, especially if the relationship is harmful or toxic. Trust yourself to know when it's time to let go and when it's time to redefine the boundaries of the relationship. Ultimately, the people who truly want to be in your life will encourage your growth, even if it's difficult for them to fully understand it. They will not see your personal evolution as a threat, but as an opportunity to connect with the best version of you. It's important to trust that as you evolve, the relationships that are meant to stay in your life will adapt and grow with you, while those that no longer fit will naturally fall away. While it may be painful to let go of people you once thought would always be by your side, it is an essential part of your personal journey. By letting go of what no longer serves you, you make space for the people, experiences, and opportunities that will help you grow even further, ultimately leading to a life that is more authentic, fulfilling, and aligned with your true self. When you focus on yourself, others may become uncomfortable, but that discomfort is often a reflection of their own insecurities, fears, or feelings of inadequacy. As you begin to prioritize your own well-being and pursue your personal growth, those around you may start to feel threatened by the changes they see in you. This is especially true when you make decisions that put your needs first, such as setting boundaries, saying no to obligations, or choosing to take time for yourself rather than constantly giving to others. These actions can disrupt the status quo in relationships, causing discomfort and unease for those who are used to you always being available, accommodating, or putting others before yourself. The discomfort others feel when you start focusing on yourself often stems from their desire to keep the old dynamics intact. People can become attached to the version of you they have known for years, the one that prioritized their needs, sacrificed personal time, or played a certain role in the relationship. When you change and start focusing on your own growth, they may interpret it as a rejection of that version of themselves or of the relationship you shared. This fear of change can lead to feelings of insecurity or jealousy, as they may fear that your newfound focus on self-care or personal goals will drive a wedge between you and them. This can manifest in various ways, from passive-aggressive comments to outright criticism or attempts to guilt you into returning to old behaviors. However, it's important to recognize that their discomfort is not your responsibility. The truth is that when you begin to focus on yourself and make decisions that prioritize your well-being, you are taking important steps to become a better, more fulfilled person. And while some people may resist or struggle with these changes, it's essential to remember that you are not obligated to shrink or revert to old habits just to keep others comfortable. Your growth and well-being should always take precedence over others' comfort, even if it causes temporary friction in relationships. It's also important to understand that people may resist your focus on yourself because they fear losing you. They may worry that if you start taking better care of yourself or pursuing your own goals, you will become less available to them or even drift away. This fear of losing connection can lead to behaviors that seek to manipulate or control your choices, such as guilt-tripping, emotional blackmail, or passive-aggressive tactics. For example, a friend or family member might try to make you feel bad for not spending enough time with them. Or a partner might express frustration over your desire to have time for yourself. In these moments, it's crucial to stay firm in your decision to prioritize yourself. Recognize that their fear of losing you does not mean that you should neglect your own needs to keep them satisfied. The truth is that when you focus on yourself, you give others the opportunity to grow as well. Relationships are dynamic, and if someone truly cares about you, they will eventually understand that your personal growth does not threaten the bond you share. In fact, it can enhance the relationship as you will be more present, fulfilled, and able to offer support from a place of balance rather than depletion. If someone resists your growth or demands that you put their needs before your own, it may indicate that they are not fully invested in supporting you as you evolve. Relationships that are based on mutual respect and understanding will accommodate each person's individual needs without resentment or manipulation. When others resist your focus on yourself, it's also an opportunity for you to assess the health of the relationship. Healthy relationships are built on the foundation of mutual support, encouragement, and respect for one another's personal journeys. If someone cannot support your growth or insist that you prioritize them over your own well-being, it may be time to evaluate whether that relationship is still aligned with your values and goals. It's essential to remember that not all relationships are meant to last forever, and sometimes stepping away from a relationship that no longer serves you is the healthiest choice. Just as you are growing and evolving, so are the people around you, and sometimes that means letting go of connections that no longer fit who you are or who you are becoming. Another aspect to consider is that people may resist your growth because they are uncomfortable with their own lack of growth. Pray. Your decision to focus on yourself may highlight their own fears, insecurities, or reluctance to change. They may see your progress as a reflection of their own stagnation, leading them to feel threatened or uncomfortable. In these situations, it's important to recognize that their resistance is about their own internal struggles, not a reflection of your worth or value. By continuing to prioritize your own growth, you are setting an example for them, even if they don't immediately acknowledge it. You are showing them that it's okay to focus on yourself, to set boundaries, and to grow at your own pace. And sometimes that's exactly what they need to see in order to make changes in their own life. While it can be painful when others resist your personal growth, it's important to stay committed to your journey. The discomfort you feel from others' reactions is temporary, but the benefits of focusing on yourself, such as increased self-awareness, better mental and emotional health, and more fulfilling relationships, are long-lasting. Over time, those who genuinely care about you will come to respect your decisions and may even learn to adopt some of the same practices in their own lives. If someone is unwilling or unable to accept your growth, it may be a sign that the relationship is not as healthy or supportive as it once was, and it's okay to move on in order to make space for more supportive and fulfilling connections. Ultimately, when you focus on yourself, you are not being selfish. You are simply taking the necessary steps to ensure that you are the best version of yourself for your own sake and for the sake of your relationships. The people who truly want to be in your life will not resist your growth. Instead, they will encourage it. And together, you can build stronger, more supportive connections that nurture both of your journeys. As we move forward in life, let us remember that focusing on ourselves is not an act of selfishness, but an essential practice for our well-being and the health of our relationships. The road to personal growth is not always easy, and along the way we may encounter resistance from others. But we must stand firm in our commitment to ourselves. We must remember that those who truly want to be in our lives will not only accept our growth, but will encourage it. Our self-care, our boundaries, and our personal evolution are not barriers to connection. They are the foundation for deeper, more authentic relationships. So embrace your journey, focus on your well-being, and trust that the right people will support you every step of the way. The more you become the person you're meant to be, the more you will have to offer the world, and the stronger the relationships around you will become. Keep growing, keep evolving, and trust that by taking care of yourself, you are ultimately building the life and relationships you deserve.